Hello there from NRail. The other day, someone asked if I had a track plan, and I don't because this was a very organic situation here. Initially, I just had this section, so from here it went straight back, and then it did this little dovetail. You can see where it ended right here, and that's all it was in this area. And then I had another section. Basically, a lot of this stuff was in this other room I have. And uh, for those of you following at home, I ended up taking it out of that room and just making this donut here. You can see. I'm trying to get as high up with this camera as I can. So what I ended up doing was I ended up taking this section and altering it. So instead of it looping around like this, it now swoops out here to go to this other section out here, like that. And so I have three different lines with three separate power packs because wiring and I don't get along. So the kind of freight line is a point to point. Starts at the harbor and goes around here. There's a switch back here, so you can go back over in this section here. So I can do some switching kind of problem stuff. It follows this right along on this far line and around, and then it goes into this yard area. And the yard basically splits off. There's like a track here, a track here around this engine house area. See if I can zoom in a little bit. And so yeah, there's the engine house area, and then the fake going off into somewhere else, so it doesn't look like it's just an island. There's some additional trackage back here, and another set of series of switches in here that goes to the factory area. So that's pretty cool. It works. And then let's see if I can get this off here. Essentially what I have is another high-speed line. You can see where the next red train is here, and that follows along on that other parallel track, comes along here and goes along the outside, and that's a continuous loop. It goes along the back here in the back, and then comes around to settle there again. And then I have a tram loop which parallels that to a certain extent, and then it comes in, and this switches to the uniplates. It goes around and back through here, and we transition from the uniplate to the standard Unitrack. Comes around here. There's a little tram. Around here and back around. And so the thing I was saying was, I see a lot of people with actual track plans, and they're playing it all out, and they have all the track down, they play around with it for a while. And I did a little bit of that, but I didn't do a whole lot of it, especially when I switched this donut configuration. I just basically had a game plan, went with it. I got my marching orders. I got an okay from management to do some additional purchases, and I went for it. And there's also a little siding over on this side too, and there's a siding back over here where this guy is. And so things work. Like with the siding, I'm able to kind of park a train back here. As you can see, this guy's parked, and then I can run this guy around, and then when I want to park him, I could park that in the back here, and then switch over back to this guy, run him around. So that's seamless. I don't have to, put trains on and off, and I don't really have that many high-speed trains right now. I do have my Evangelion high-speed train as well, but I had that on, and I've been taking it on and off, so I've been switching it around. But I would have liked the big thing, that's kind of working out. The tram is working out, but the big thing is I wish that I had kind of a loop for my freight as well. I don't know how I would do that without some serious building action going on. I could have taken it off of here and made it go somewhere. And I did think about that for a while. I thought about, take a step back here, actually building out this area and kind of doing like a little triangle of some sort and maybe running it under and around that way. But that was just getting very convoluted. I was going to put in a helix under over here. It's just like this whole drama, and like basically take it from up here, have a helix go underneath the table and come underneath and then come popping up here and then connect up over here. And I was just, after looking at it, it's just like, ugh, that would be awful. A lot of track, and it probably wouldn't work out that well. And that was the biggie. That was the big one, because I would have liked to have run like some longer freight trains. I think that would have been fun. And the way it stands now, I really don't do that. And because I'm just doing it point to point, so it's like I run them through for photo ops, and then they come over here, and then they go, and then back they go. So that's not very exciting. So that's the biggie. That's the big thing I would change. I also wish that I would spend more time on the electrics, because I would like to have lit this thing up. And eventually I probably will. None of the buildings are down. And so in theory, I could, once I have everything completely set and stop moving things around and stop buying new things and all that, I could start drilling and start wiring some of these things up. I just need to get my brain around actual wiring, because I'm not wired that way, as it were. So, yeah, overall, it's fine. And, my big thing that I like is the scenery and the like. I like little scenes, like my little students here taking a tour of the temple, and my little shopping area and things like that. My residential area with little interactions going on and things of that nature. My historical section. So yeah, that's the stuff I really like. The trains going around, I like to a certain extent, but it's just frustrating because, we're still dealing with, power running through track and, all that fun stuff. And then I have issues where, like this switch back here, it was working perfectly fine, and I think things are just settling, and now it's being funky. So things are derailing now, and I start getting into that, and it's just like, ugh, I just get so upset. So eventually, one day, we will have, power onboard trains, and they'll just be running like real trains. It's already started, and I'm excited. I'm sure there's going to be a whole nother series of stuff I have to learn with that, but I do computer stuff for a living, so I think I would be much better at dealing with computer issues rather than wiring issues. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, so that's the overall. You can kind of see how things run. And yeah, I didn't really have a track plan, because this is like the fourth iteration of track planning I had done. And I did it actually on the fly. So I basically had the track, I had my space, and I was like, well, let's see if this works. And I just started playing with the track and figured things out that way, which is kind of where my brain is. And I really like doing that. It was a lot of fun. And, playing around that way, I was, able to kind of see what was going to work, what wasn't going to work as far as the overall flow, and, did things make sense and things like that. And the only thing I didn't think through was the freight. So we'll see how that goes. It may be something where eventually I'll just take all the buildings off, put them in boxes, just like I did with the back room when I moved that over, and just start all over again. I don't know. Maybe. Probably not, because I've done a lot of work, and I like how it's finally getting to a point where I could really, not only see the work that I've done, but I really like what I've done, and I like how the flow is and things. So I just keep adding stuff like more people and, more little scenes, interactions and stuff. I think that's what I'm going to end up doing, because that's what I really care about anyway. And so with that being said, thanks again for watching, keeping it again to 10 minutes or less. And we'll talk with you guys soon. Thanks a lot.